Namaste. Welcome to this online English class. I am Bhoopathy, Junior Lecturer in English, APRJC Guntur. We know due to this pandemic situation, we have these online classes. My dear senior inter students, hope you are all utilizing this government program. And the government has been taking a lot of measures to make you aware of the syllabus first of all, and also the lessons. Now, let us see Senior Inter English poem. The last poem, the fifth one, A Challenge to Fate. As you know, our English textbook has mainly three parts. One is poetry and prose. The next one, non-detailed text. Next, study and communication skills. Under the part of poetry, today we are going to see a very beautiful and inspirational poem, A Challenge to Fate, written by Sarojini Naidu. First, let us see something about the poetess. As you know, Sarojini Naidu is popularly known as the Nightingale of India. She was born on February 13th in 1879 in Hyderabad. Her father was Agornath Chattopadhyaya, a scientist and the founder of the Nizam College in Hyderabad. Her mother Sundari Devi, a Bengali poetess. Actually, she was inspired by her mother to start her career as a writer. Her mother Sundari Devi was a very popular Bengali poetess, and she wrote so many poems, and her works were very great inspiration to Sarojini Devi. She was a child prodigy. I mean, from the beginning, from her childhood days, she was very active and intelligent. We can say proactive. She was a patriot, a freedom fighter. She followed the footsteps of Gandhiji. And Sarojini Devi work as a poet earned her so many titles, but the main sobriquet, the Nightingale of India, was awarded by Mahatma Gandhi. So it has become very popular, and many people know something about Sarojini Devi. Even from her school days, she was a very good orator. We can say a skilled orator. And in later days, she became an exemplary administrator, worked as Congress president and governor of Indian state. She was not only a freedom fighter, but also a very active person and fought for women empowerment. She was very proficient in many languages, especially she was good at Bengali, English, Urdu, Telugu, and Persian. She studied most of her education in Madras University, and she was very much inspired by the works of her mother, and she started her career as a poetess very early. Her notable works are Indian weavers, snake charmers, palanquin bearers, and many other poems. But all the poems are with the subject of Indian soil, Indian tradition, Indian culture. So we can see in every poem there is some kind of Indianism. But this present one is a very different one. She married Dr. Govindarajul Naidu, a physician, and her career as a poetess has become very popular in the world. Unfortunately, she died on 2nd March 1949, and her husband also died in the same year. When we come to the present poem, A Challenge to Fate by Sarojini Naidu, it's a very beautiful and inspirational poem. It inspires the readers because, according to the poetess Sarojini Devi, most of the human beings are fatalists. Fatalist means people who believe in fate. So people believe fate is reason for every unhappiness in their lives. Fate is reason for their failures. When they become successful means they say it's their efforts. When they get failure means it is because of the fate. So the poem A Challenge to Fate by Sarojini Devi is a very inspirational one for the readers, and it has a very light philosophical touch. She talks about fate, destiny, soul, spirit. So the poem depicts the strong spirit of human soul. She says that fate cannot defeat or conquer or vanquish an enlightened human soul. So this is the main theme that we are going to see in the poem. It never overcomes. The fate never overcomes the strong human soul. She challenges the fate. There are 6 stanzas in the poem. In every stanza, she challenges the fate. Fate can do nothing. Fate can damage her happiness or peace of life very temporarily, but it cannot totally take her happiness away from her. She challenges herself. She challenges the fate not to disturb her life. Fate may deprive certain moments in human life, but never overcomes the strong soul. It teaches us that it can never defeat the powerful spirit of human soul. She challenges not to disturb her life. It troubles, spoils happiness and so many beautiful things in our lives. But she openly challenges. We can say it is a kind of open challenge. So the brief theme is people are afraid of fate, and it may temporarily disturb and snatch our happiness and joy, but it never conquers the human soul totally. So the poet is not ready to surrender herself to the fate. So she advocates, she appeals to the readers, people, you need not worry very much about fate. Fate may come and go. It is not permanent. But our strong soul, the spirit of our soul is very important. Now let us see the poem. There are 6 stanzas, I have told you. And let us go line by line from each stanza. Look at the first stanza, A Challenge to Fate. So in the first stanza, you see there are 6 lines in each stanza. Let me read out the stanza. Why will you vex me with your futile conflict? Why will you strive with me, O foolish fate? You cannot break me with your poignant envy. You cannot slay me with your subtle hate. For all the cruel folly you pursue, I will not cry with suppliant hands to you. See, she openly challenges the fate. The fate, it may trouble us, but it is a futile conflict. It makes us worry. It makes us feel unhappy. It brings us some kind of sadness, but it is a futile conflict. Futile means no use, of no use, useless conflict. So it tries to take our happiness away from us. It strives with us. Oh, foolish fate. The poetess calls the fate a foolish. You cannot break me with your poignant envy. So she says that the fate cannot break her happiness. The fate is very poignant envy. It is envious. It is jealous. The poet challenges the fate cannot slay, take away, blushes away the happiness, the peace, beautiful things. Whatever cruelty she may bring, she may give, she may trouble, the poet is not ready to surrender herself to the fate. She will not cry, stretching her hands towards fate and bending her head down to the fate. She is really a very courageous woman. Otherwise, she would not challenge like this. See, people always believe that fate is reason for everything, but she would not agree with this. Fate can do nothing. It cannot vanish our dreams. It cannot take away the happiness from us very permanently. It is just a timely unhappiness. It vexes us just for us time, just for some time. Now let us go to the second stanza. And once again, there are 6 lines. You may perchance wreck in your bitter malice the radiant empire of mine eager eyes. Say, can you rob my memory's dear dominion over sunlit mountains and sidereal skies? In my enduring treasuries, I hold their ageless splendor of unravished gold. Here also, she challenges. In the first stanza, she challenged the fate not to interfere in her life and take her happiness away from her. Though it is so much intent upon bringing her pain and despair, she won't bend her head upon down in supplication to it. The poet openly challenges the fate by saying that it may perhaps succeed in destroying her brilliant world of light that her eyes can see. She can see the beauty in nature, but for some time, the fate can take the happiness. The fate can take the beautiful scenery from her eyes, and she may succeed in destroying her brilliant world of light that her eyes cannot see, but it is not permanent. She cannot take the memory in her mind. She cannot rob the memory of the poetess. the beautiful sunlight mountains, the beautiful sidereal skies, the beautiful treasuries, those are in her mind. Their ageless splendor of unravished gold. The beautiful golden moments in her mind cannot be spoiled by the fate. She can just bring them to her mind and enjoys. She can look at them through her mind's eyes. So the fate cannot rob her of the pleasures of beautiful memories. So fate cannot take the memories from us. It may take the physical beauty before us. It may temporarily rob something from us and make us feel sad. But it is not the permanent one. It is just for time being, that's all. Whenever the poetess wants to enjoy the beautiful moments in her life, she would recall them from her memory and enjoy the sunlight mountains, the beautiful skies, the beautiful moments, lots of treasuries she holds in her mind. So the golden moments in her mind cannot be spoiled or troubled by the fate. Fate is never be successful. Always the enlightened spirit of soul is successful. That success will be everlasting one. So in the second stanza also, the poetess challenges the fate cannot succeed in conquering the poet's beautiful memories, because she has a very strong and powerful soul. Now let us go to the third stanza. The third stanza, you may usurp the kingdoms of my hearing, say, shall my scatheless spirit cease to hear the bridal rapture of the blowing valleys, the lyric pageant of the pausing year, the sounding odes and singing harmonies of battling tempests and conquered seas? So in the second stanza, the fate may affect temporarily the seeing, one of the five senses. Coming to the third stanza, the fate may disturb hearing, one of the senses, but it is also not permanent. So in the third stanza, the poetess again challenges the fate by saying that it may take away from her the ability to hear the joyous blowing of the winds in the valleys, the melodious sounds of the winds throughout the year, the beautiful, the melodious, very sweet sounds of our life from our life throughout the year. Even then, it cannot deprive her. It cannot take the beautiful or melodious sounds from her, because she can enjoy the sound of the tempest and the tossing seas, the unconquered tossing seas. These sounds cannot be stopped by the fate. So she would enjoy these permanent sounds, the battling tempests and the tossing seas. These cannot be stopped or seized by the fate. Fate may be successful for a little amount of time, just for a few minutes or hours, that's all. But it cannot take the complete happiness from anyone. So she is inspiring the readers not to get any kind of disturbance and don't get fear. Don't be afraid of the fate. The fate is always troublesome. It is a known fact. But with our powerful, enlightened soul, we can certainly face it. We can certainly overcome, and we can never become a defeated one before the fate. It is a challenge. It's an open challenge. Now let us go to the fourth stanza. The fourth stanza talks about articulation, oration, speaking ability. Yeah, you may smite my mouth to throbbing silence, pluck from my lips power of articulate words. Say, shall my heart lack its familiar language? While earth has nests for her mellifluous birds, shall my impassioned heart forget to sing with the 10,000 voices of the spring? Is it possible the fate troubling continuously, taking away the power of articulating or speaking? So in the fourth stanza, the poet once again challenges the fate by saying that it may take away from her the power to speak, articulating the beautiful words, and it may lock or pluck the lips, and it may stop the power of saying the words. Even then, yet it won't succeed in frightening and withholding her fearless spirit. Her spirit is fearless. Her fear is never afraid of the fate. And the spirit is always riding on the wings of rain. I mean, it is continuously singing the hopeful songs with the 10,000 voices of the spring. So, at any cost, fate cannot bind her unconquerable mind. Her mind is unconquerable. Her mind is enlightened one. So which is very fearless and companion of the wind. So her mind is the companion of the wind. Whenever she wants to, she could articulate in her inner mind, and certainly she will continue her journey of speaking out very beautiful words. So once again, fate is failure. Fate is not successful. So her dream has become unfulfilled. In the next stanza, let us see how the poetess is going to challenge. Yeah, you may quell my blood with sudden anguish, fetter my limbs with some compelling pain. How will you daunt my free, far journeying fancy that rides upon the pinions of the rain? How will you tether my triumphant mind, rival and fearless compare of the wind? Oh, my dear readers, see how courageously she is challenging the fate. So in the fifth stanza also she says, the fate may stop the flow of blood from my body in the veins with the pain of, or it may shackle her limbs with pain. The fate may bring some kind of pain and trouble to the blood and veins, limbs, some kind of force, some kind of forcible pain. So with that, it is not acceptable that fate can conquer the powerful soul of the poetess. She would not agree. She says that, yet The fate won't succeed in frightening and withholding her fearless spirit from enjoying. It cannot do any kind of thing, which is very fearless, and the fate cannot take away the happiness and her continuous journey. So it is fearless, even though it gives some kind of physical torture. It is just for some time. With that, it is not mean, it doesn't mean that fate has conquered the poetess or any human being. It is a temporary. It may trouble the physical body. It cannot touch the enlightened or powerful soul of any human being. It cannot dare, it cannot conquer, it cannot trouble, it cannot do any kind of damage to the powerful, enlightened soul of human being. So even in the fifth stanza, she courageously says, fate can never overcome or conquer or defeat or vanquish the enlightened human soul. And in the last stanza, let us see. Though you deny the hope of all my being, betray my love, my sweetest to deem destroy, yet will I slake my individual sorrow at the deep source of universal joy. O fate, in vain you hanker to control my frail, serene, indomitable soul. My soul is indomitable, that cannot be dominated, that cannot be overcome, that cannot be conquered. Fate is a weak one, it is an envious one. So, though you take away the hope from my life and take away love from me, and you may try to destroy the sweetest dream, yet I will never surrender to you. So in this stanza, you can see the poetess declares very confidently that fate may stop our hope from filling her being, her the new life and energy. It may snatch from the fulfillment of her love and dreams, cherished dreams, the most cherished dreams, but she will continue drinking from the source of universal joy. Can it stop from drinking the happiness or enjoying the happiness from the universal joy? She may bring trouble very temporarily to the human being's happiness, but the universal joy is very permanent. The poetess wants to enjoy continuously the universal joy. O fate, the poetess clears it. She makes it very clear to the fate. O fate, that the desire to control my indomitable spirit will remain unfulfilled. O fate, listen, whatever efforts you take to spoil my happiness, you will never be successful in your efforts. Your efforts will become totally unfulfilled. They will not be cherished. You cannot really take my happiness very permanently. So, in all the six stanzas, the poetess talks about the powerful, indomitable human soul, and she openly says that she would not surrender herself to the fate. So it is really very great inspirational poem. Really, she is very courageous by daring in challenges, and she is trying to make every individual, the readers, to become strong and not to yield themselves to the fate. She asks the fate why life is always conspiring, why this fate is always conspiring and troubling and taking the happiness from her. It is not the permanent one. Even if it tries again and again, it can temporarily give some kind of trouble. It cannot bring very permanent damage to her happiness. So, to conclude, the theme of the poem is, it's very simple. Human beings are very much afraid of fate. Whenever they fail, they say it is because of fate. Whenever they get some kind of troubles in their lives, they say it is because of fate. Whenever they become defeated, whenever they face any health problems, whenever they become low in their happiness, they say it is all because of fate. So, you have listened to the poem, A Challenge to Fate, and understood. So, this is the first level. Listening and understanding is the first level. And the next level is evaluation. Before going to the evaluation, let us see some important points from the poem. The main theme of this is already well aware of you, and human soul is very strong. It cannot overcome the fate cannot overcome our strong soul. That is the main theme of the poem. The next level is very important level, that is for the examination point of view. From every lesson, there will be one paragraph question. I mean, a paragraph question is 10 to 15 lines answer, and annotation part. You know, annotation, how to write an annotation that you have learned in your first year intermediate. Let us see what are the important questions from this poem. And there are two important questions from this poem. It is in the textbook, the important questions. You can expect one of these two questions in the examinations. Your answer should be in about 10 to 15 lines. It means that not less than 100 words. So more than 100 to 150. Why are people generally afraid of fate? That is the most important question. How did Sarojini Naidu challenge such a fearful fate? This is the first question. Why are people generally afraid of fate? It is a known fact. Every human being is afraid of fate. And how she challenges in this poem. Next, second one is, what is the theme of the poem, A Challenge to Fate? What is the life lesson we can learn from the poem? So every lesson or every poem has some kind of lesson that we can learn. And what lesson we have learned from this poem, A Challenge to Fate, that we are going to see here. And before going to the answers, let us see how a paragraph question, answer should be. I have told you the answer must be in about 10 to 15 lines, and it must be in 2 or 3 paras, possibly 3 paras. The first para is the introduction. So in the introduction, we have to write name of the poem, author name, and what is the poem about. These 3 things that we should cover in the introduction. Next, second paragraph is the content, the subject, what is the exact answer for the given question that we should cover in the second paragraph. The second paragraph says something about the answer, and the third one is the conclusion. So first paragraph just 3 or 4 lines. The second paragraph is in about 10 lines, and the last paragraph may be in 2 or 3 lines. So totally our answer is in about 15 lines or 100 or above words. This is the thing. See, the first question, why are people generally afraid of fate? How did Sarojini Naidu challenge such a fearful fate? So this answer I have prepared as a model to you. If you see, look at the screen. There are 3 paras. The first para, I have told you something about the writer, name of the poem, and the gist. What is it about? And the second paragraph is the accurate answer for the given question. And the third one is the conclusion. Why are people generally afraid of fate? How did Sarojini Naidu challenge such a fearful fate? The poem, A Challenge to Fate, is written by Sarojini Naidu, the Nightingale of India. She was a child prodigy. I have already told you she was a very active person right from the beginning, childhood days. And she was not only a freedom fighter, but a good administrator also. In her later life, she became the president of Indian National Congress and then governor of a state. This poem depicts the indomitable spirit of the human soul. It teaches us how an enlightened human spirit cannot be defeated by fate. So, the first paragraph is about the poem, author, and what is this poem about. This poem is nothing but a challenge to fate. The poetess Sarojini Devi challenges fate that it cannot overcome the indomitable soul of the human being. Coming to the second point, second paragraph, we can see the answer in the second paragraph. Why are people generally afraid of fate? That is the question. Generally, every human being is afraid of fate because we people believe that fate is destiny and it brings all kinds of sorrow, sadness, troubles, problems, setbacks, whatever negativity that we think, it is only because of the destiny. This is the karma. Just we come to a conclusion. But here Sarojini Naidu doesn't believe in this fate. She challenges the fate and calls it a fool. It's foolish. Fate may bring unhappiness or trouble or problems just for the time being, temporarily. Even then, it cannot conquer the enlightened human soul or the powerful, strong soul. The poet wants fate, warns, it's a warning that its hateful efforts would all go useless. The fate tries to overcome our soul every time, but all its efforts will go a futile job, a futile thing. That means a useless thing. Here, again and again, in every stanza, the poetess challenges the fate can rob happiness, but cannot take away the permanent memories from the mind of human beings. She challenges that fate may take away our abilities to see and enjoy, to listen and enjoy, and also to speak, the ability of speaking also. But it cannot take away the happiness of our mind because the mind's eye can see, mind's ear can listen, the mind's soul can speak out very beautifully and sings hopeful songs in this season of spring. So, whatever efforts the fate takes again and again, it cannot conquer the human mind and suppress the human mind permanently. She can do all these with her mind's eye. I mean, the poetess says that she can enjoy all kinds of things from the mind's eye and drink the happiness from the universal joy. So, this is the second paragraph. And the third one, it is the conclusion part. The poet makes it clear that fearful fate cannot fulfill the desire of ruining indomitable human soul. This is the final thing. The poetess says, at any time, at any cost, anyway, the fate cannot overcome or defeat our enlightened spirit of soul. This is the model essay prepared for you. And if you see the three paras, in the same way, you can find answer to the next question also. What is the theme of the poem? So you can write the theme. What is the theme? You know, theme is fate cannot overcome or conquer or defeat an enlightened human soul. That is the main theme. So what lesson have we learned from the poem? The poetess inspires the readers, motivates the readers in different ways, not to fear for fate. At any cost, don't go away, don't take back, don't retreat looking at the fate. Fate can do nothing. So fate is nothing before us because we have a very powerful, very strong, and very enlightened soul. So, what lesson have we learned? We have learned the lesson that our soul is strong, and whatever unhappiness the fate brings, that is only for the time being. It is not permanent. We can enjoy, we can see and enjoy, we can listen to the beautiful melodious sounds, and we can speak out beautiful things, sing beautiful hopeful songs. It is only with the support of our inner mind, that is the spirit of soul. So our mind is very strong, our soul is very strong. So at any cost, we cannot um, yield our soul to the fearful fate. This is the answer. You can try first paragraph the same as you have seen in the answer, and the second paragraph is the actual um, answer to the question. The final, the last third paragraph is the conclusion. So it is common to all. The poet makes it clear to the fate that it can never conquer or it can never defeat the human soul. So in this way, this is the assignment that you are going to write at home. And when coming to the next question item, this is annotation part. You have learned how to attempt an annotation in your first year. It is very simple. Annotation is also in three parts. That is context, explanation, and critical note or critical relevance. Here, from this poem, there are four important lines. First one is from the first stanza. For all the cruel folly you pursue, I will not cry with suppliant hands to you. So, answer is given in the textbook. You can see, you can read, and you can find how easy it is. For all the cruel folly you pursue, I will not cry with suppliant hands to you. So the meaning is, whatever cruelty the fate pursues, the poet says that she would not cry and surrender to the fate. Second one, it is from the fourth stanza. Yeah, the first two lines of the fourth stanza. Yeah, you may smite my mouth to throbbing silence. Oh, fate, you may stop, you may seize my mouth not to speak, and you may pluck articulating words from my lips. It is a temporary one, but I can speak, sing from my mind. It cannot be stopped. So this is the fourth stanza starting lines. The next one is, how will you daunt my free, far journeying fancy that rides upon the pinions of the rain? So this is the fifth stanza, third and fourth lines. How will you daunt my free, far journeying fancy that rides upon the pinions of the rain? How can you take away my dreams? It is not at all possible. I can continue my journey and enjoy my happiness from the universal joy. The next one, it is from the last stanza. Yet will I slake my individual sorrow at the deep source of universal joy. So whatever sorrow you bring to me individually, I can continue enjoying my happiness from the source of universal joy. So these are the four important annotations from this poem. And the first one is given in the textbook. As a model, I want to give you the second one. Shall I take the second one and give you a model annotation? Let us see the second one. And third and fourth, these two that you should try at home. In the same way, you can write practice, and it is very simple. As it is Indian writer's poem, there will be certainly one annotation from this poem. My dear students, don't miss. It is a model annotation prepared by me. Here, you may smite my mouth to throbbing silence, pluck from my lips power of articulate words. Have I told you already? The annotation should be in three parts. Certainly, you should write these subheadings, the subtitles. Context. Context means where from, the name of the poem, author, the context, the reference, where from you have taken these, where from these lines are taken, from what kind of situation these two lines are taken. Next, explanation. That is the meaning. The actual meaning of the given word, letter, two lines. What is meant by the two lines given here? That is. And third one is general relevance. So it talks about the theme and what the poem says about all these things. See, what is the context of this annotation? For all the four annotations, the context is the same. My dear students, keep in your mind, the context is same. These lines are taken from the poem A Challenge to Fate by Sarojini Naidu. In this poem, she refuses to submit herself to fate. She challenges the cruel activities of fate that it cannot do anything. She praises the indomitable human spirit. So she challenges the fearful fate, and she says that at any cost it cannot defeat our human soul. So this is the context. The same context can be written for the remaining two annotations also. There will be no change at all. If you want to particularly mention, you can write the name, the stanza, from which stanza. So you can write, these lines are taken from the poem A Challenge to Fate by Sarojini Naidu. So this is taken from, or these lines are taken from the fifth stanza of the poem A Challenge to Fate. If you are very particular, know clearly, you can mention that. Otherwise, it's not a problem, so you can leave it. The second thing is the explanation. The explanation of the given lines. The poet challenges fate by saying that it may be successful in destroying her bright and colorful world. Fate may cut down the power of articulating or power of speaking. You know, we may be a very good speakers, but fate may sometimes take away the ability of articulating beautiful words. It may pluck the power of speaking from our lips. Even then, she would not, the poetess would not submit or surrender to fate. She would never yield herself to fate. Her emotional heart still sings the songs of hope in the spring season. This is the meaning, explanation of the given 2 lines. She challenges fate by saying that it may be successful in destroying her bright and colorful world. It may cut down the ability of speaking. It may pluck the power of speaking from her lips. Even then, the poetess is not ready to submit to fate. Her emotional heart will continue. There will be no gap. It will not stop. It will continue to sing the song of hope in the spring season. Next, general relevance is also almost the same to all the annotations. From this poem. General relevance, the poet is very courageous to challenge the fate, which is trying to make her unhappy. So fate will be always trying to make human beings unhappy. But here the poet is very courageously challenging. So it is an inspirational poem. The poetess inspires the readers not to be discouraged by fate. At any cost, they should not become weak before the fate. Her spirit motivates us to learn to challenge fate. So, what we have learned from the poem is you should, or we human beings should not yield or surrender. We should stand strong and we should face whatever fate or destiny that happens in our lives. That is the annotation. So, the next 2 annotations that you should try. How will you daunt my free, far journeying fancy that rides upon the pinions of the rain? So this is from the 5th stanza. How the fate can take away the beauty from her life. The poet's life. That is not permanent. So she can take away the dreams, but it is temporary. But her spirit always rides upon the happiness of the time, the universal happiness that will continue. So, as it is, the context part and the next last one, general relevance may be the same. Coming to the the last annotation, yet will I slake my individual sorrow at the deep source of universal joy. Fate cannot take away the happiness permanently. Fate may give trouble very temporarily. Fate may bring the individual sorrow, but it cannot take away the happiness, the deep source of universal joy from the poetess. So it is a motivational poem. So it motivates the readers, it inspires the readers to stand and challenge fate as the poet is doing in this poem. So these 2 are the assignment annotations that you should try. So just as a practice, you do at home. And the question already I have discussed the theme of the poem and what lesson have we learned from this poem. So if you try these written tasks at home, certainly you will get some kind of practice and you will be thorough for the examination point of view. So my dear readers, we have seen the poem completely and also with the evaluation part. So you should do very attentively and with confidence, and certainly you will be successful in your examinations. Very nice. Happy to spend with you, and let us meet again with some other beautiful poem or prose lesson or some other communication skill or grammar item. Very nice thing. And never postpone. Don't postpone the things. Make hay while the sun shines. You should never postpone whatever things that you have to do now. It is a very pandemic moment. It is a very, what we can say, the dead time. But we should we should make use of the time and do something useful. Don't think it is a complete leave. It is just a gap only, and be thorough. Very shortly, the schools and colleges will be reopened. And once again, we are going to enjoy the beautiful days of our college. So Stay safe, stay blessed, and read well. Very happy. Thank you. Namaste.